Welcome back, or if this is the first time watching any of these videos, welcome. My name is Matthew Rogerson, I'm the Pack Scout, and today we are continuing the series on sustainability with the focus on the impact of overconsumption. So, let's see. Overconsumption. We start with waste. Not sure how many people are familiar with these statistics, but they're pretty eye-watering. We create billions of tons of solid waste every year, and that's billion with a B. And the vast majority is thrown into the ground, about 70% average, and recycling, reuse, redirected from this is very inefficient. Maybe 26, 27% of that. Which means that of the 2.2 billion tons of solid waste every year, maybe 300 or 400 million tons is not ending up in the ground. Quite apart from the physical waste that this material causes, it also is responsible for about 40 billion tons of emitted CO2 per year. We're currently within about 200 billion tons of passing a point of no return that has pretty severe consequences for global warming. So a quick calculation in your head can show you that we're about 5 years off this at this rate of tons emitted just within the manufacturing, packaging, brand market. So what? So it's a relatively reasonable request. People might just say, well, why does it matter? And it matters because it's symptomatic of the real threats to our desire to embrace a sustainable circular future. So consumption or overconsumption is an unnecessary waste. The problem is that capitalism is not conducive to sustainability. So we talk about how we want to be more sustainable, we want to have a circular economy, but the problem is that all of the companies that are operating within this market are rewarded for growth. They're rewarded for more and more and more. So they're rewarded for selling more, for making more, for producing more, for opening new markets, for reaching more consumers. And all of the executive teams and everybody within the company is very much financially driven. The shareholders who own those companies want greater dividends and performance, and they want them quarter after quarter. The problem with this is that it is completely antagonistic and at odds to sustainability. Because consumers are encouraged to continue to buy more and more and more. We're told, supersize the meal, save money with a bulk purchase, have a packet of 50 cookies. It's not a one-way street. So as consumers, we very much demand to be able to buy and purchase whatever we want, when we want, and how we want it. We don't want to be moderated in our consumption by companies. The response by most people to portion control is one of frustration because we feel like we're being treated like children. It is my right as a consumer to have as much as I want, and no one can tell me any different. While this is true, unfortunately, it leads to a lot of waste. So overconsumption. The entire consumer model is designed to sell more, to take more, to use more. Unfortunately, it also wastes more. If you think of an oil tanker, it does not turn particularly well. It's not very agile, and that's the same case with overconsumption. We're headed for rocks, the metaphorical rocks, in this case being global warming. The problem with all the waste that is generated is that it's not simply creating a mess. As well as clogging up our landfill, as well as leaking into our water and wasting resources to be made, and then not used and thrown away, we grasp this right to buy whatever we want, and we continue to be oblivious of the impact. It's not about blame, but in overconsumption's case, it's a very serious issue because, at least in the case of a product that I use and then dispose of inappropriately, at least I've used the product. So the purpose of it being made and shipped and sent to me and then bought by me and used, that at least is giving me the chance to consume appropriately. I've consumed the product. But in overconsumption's case, what's happening is we're not even consuming it in some cases. So I'm throwing away something. So I am, at the moment, the latest numbers suggest about 40%. So of the 100% market of consumed goods, 40% of it is thrown away or wasted or lost. So we're not even using it. It passes its death by date, or I don't finish off the 50 cookies I've bought, I throw away 5 of them or 10 of them or more of them. I pour out the milk before it's done. I don't finish the cheese. Whatever it is, I am not even consuming it. So I've purchased it. So it's had to be made and created and sent to me, and it's required all those resources, all of that emissions, but I have not even used it. And that is the part which is very scary. So global warming, it's not a theory, it's a scientific fact. So these best estimates that we have suggest we're about 200 billion tons of emissions away from a very bleak state. That would take about 5 years to course correct. Again, the response to that could be, so what? It's 5 years is loads of time, and maybe it's not going to happen, or maybe there's going to be a way to kind of stop this avalanche before it gets to the bottom of the hill. And 200 billion seems like a large number, but when we emit 40 billion a year, it's 5 years. We're less than 5 years away from some very stark impacts, because once you pass that point, not only is it going to take about 5 years to be able to get back to the point before it was a mess, but you have some very significant weather impacts. We've already had 12 months of the hottest month ever. We've already had droughts where there should not be, rain where it should not be. I mean, when I was in Los Angeles, we had snow. Snow in Southern California is ridiculous. And I think that was the first time in nearly 40 years that it had occurred. And it's just getting worse. Now in LA, they've got the wildfires, but there's all sorts of weird weather patterns happening where they probably shouldn't be or had not been seen before. That's just going to get worse. Now, the global food system for production from consumption is responsible for about 18 of those 40 billion tons. Food waste alone is about 4.5 billion tons. So this is just food production and waste. This is not even including packaging waste or the logistics of moving all of that food around or getting it out of the ground and shipping it all over the place to not even be used, or even the other markets that can create waste, like beverage or cosmetics or pharmaceuticals or appliances or automotive or construction. The list goes on. So if we're looking at about 40 billion a year, probably 15 to 20 billion of that could be completely avoided. Conservatively speaking, probably 15 billion, but worst case scenario, probably half of that 40 billion. We could significantly reduce it if we were to just consume what we actually get. So every time we buy something and throw away leftovers or leave waste or litter, we're adding to a pile of waste that is accumulating every year. So there's 2.2 billion tons. If we don't change the way that we dispose of waste, that is going to get to about 2.4, 2.6 billion in the next 10 to 15 years. That's an enormous amount of waste. There isn't enough ground to bury it all in. And every time we turn away from an efficient way of reducing that number and we just kind of continue to pile up and pile up and pile up, it's just going to cause more chaos. So however the systems, however efficient the systems are that we set up, or however strict the legislation is, until we address the overconsumption problem, it's never going to be possible to reach a circular economy. It is almost impossible for this problem to be solved. The way our entire market is set up remains dictated by short-term financial performance, and consumers are not going to change their desire to be free to purchase whatever they want. It's so embedded in the fabric of the market that in the same way as a multi-layer or multi-material package is, we cannot separate it. But it is possible to take little steps. And those little steps can make a difference. So if I think to myself, do I really need X? Do I need 8 of them? Or can I just take one? Can I come back to repurchase this product? Or do I just take the extra large thing that I then would waste? If I balance both the need to economize my shopping and to purchase what I need with the ability to be able to consume it all appropriately, it's not necessarily the case that I'm going to overnight change my habits, but at least if I'm asking myself the question, it starts to put me on the right path. So I hope you found this helpful. If so, please subscribe. If you've got any questions or comments or feedback, you can always reach me. You can either email me at matthew@thepackscout.com, or you can call me anytime, 0777 33 93 105. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Thank you.